Hi, my name is Andrea, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Andrea.
My family, this is a bit of a surprise, but I'm honored to be able to introduce our guest speaker, Janine M. When I first met her, her personality shined. I get a little choked up now. She's a friend of mine, my sponsor, and very dear to me. We hit it off because we have the same sort of twisted, sick sense of humor. And she's been around long enough that I imagine you all know that Janine ain't right, which is why she's here. Her husband Randy and I are positively family to me, and the example that they are for the NA community helps me every day. Without further ado, I introduce a wonderful woman, Janine.
I'm an addict. My name's Janine. She's got me crying before I'm even started. Let's have another quick moment of silence, and let's follow that with a third step prayer, please. Many of us have said, take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live clean just for today. Different people have asked me what I was going to share about today, and I said, I'm not sure. I don't ever plan anything out. I do know that very early in my recovery, I can remember driving to work, and I'd pray, God, make me a balloon, and just empty me of me and fill me with you. And that is truly what I pray before I share. I do know two things. There will be swearing and there will be crying. I will share with you my strength, hope, and experience, and probably some opinions. I was thinking about, I love this topic of freedom. And lately I've been talking a lot about new levels of freedom in recovery. And I'd like you to celebrate with me that I made it to lunch today without having to use. Can we all stand up and give ourselves and our higher power and Narcotics Anonymous a round of applause? I could never fucking make it past lunch. Thank you. Now that's the first freedom, right? They used to say, I'd always hear them say, don't quit before the miracle. And now I say, which one? Yeah. There are, they just keep mounting up and up and up. If I was to share with you the spiritual awakenings and the miracles that have happened to me since March 7th, 1995, we'd be here till next week. So I'm going to give you some of the high points. God, I love you. I'm going to start there, that I can love God. I was raised in a religion by a God that loved me so much he was going to torture me for eternity. And luckily I had enough insight or enough conscious contact with God that I knew it was bullshit, all this guilt that they were laying on me. And I remember at the age of 4 standing in altar calls, and I'll probably sing to you, sorry I do this, but standing in altar calls, like hour and a half altar calls, and they're singing, just as I am without, that's enough. Anyway, but I was told I was a sinner, and I was going to hell, and I was going to burn in hell. I was 4 years old, motherfuckers! So when I got to doing the 4th step, I remember telling my sponsor, we were talking about my childhood, and I said, I was confused. And she said, well, I was told that confusion is when you know what to do, but you don't want to do it. But I had literal roots of confusion because I'm a very intelligent person. So I'm being told this simple plan of salvation, and if you're into that, good job. It never made sense to me. I couldn't figure out why God needed a dead lamb so he could talk to me. It didn't make sense. And I was a smart woman. And so I'm reading the Bible, and it says, this, God is love, judge not that you be not judged. I'm not going to quote a lot of Bible. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It says this, and I'm told this over here. Okay, we hate these people. Those people are going to hell. Everybody that doesn't agree with us is wrong. And there was confusion, absolute confusion. But I realized too that when I got here, my problem was with people, not with God. So when they allowed me a God of my understanding, oh man, that was cool. Okay, and then I don't know the date, and I know a lot of weird dates, but it was after 2003, because I was driving through a Kmart parking lot, and I saw the people in the long dresses, right? And the cow pies on the back of their head, and the long denim skirts, and the tennis shoes, right? I wanted to hit them with my car. I didn't think that was a normal reaction to seeing holiness people walking into Kmart. I was in therapy at the time, and she sent me to a psychiatrist. And this psychiatrist, I'm telling him what's going on with me, and he says, well, that's PTSD. I'm like, Vietnam vets get PTSD. And as I talked more about it, he gave me a little booklet and shit. And as I talked more about it, I found out that when I was 8 years old, I got off the bus, nobody was home. I thought Christ had come back, taking everybody but me. And the result was I wanted to hit the motherfuckers with my car. Now I see him in Kmart and I want to go up and say, why are you looking so ugly? Do you think God wants you to look ugly? This is not a uniform outlined in red in the Bible. Why am I talking so much about religion? Anyway, because it had a profound effect on who I became. Because I was literally simmered, marinated in fear as a child. In those hour-and-a-half altar calls. You know, what I realized, it doesn't matter what drug got you here. It doesn't matter what fear got you here. It doesn't matter how you became an addict. It says that in the basic text. It says, how we got this disease is of no immediate importance. I believe eventually, in the course of staying clean and working the steps, you will see it, just because you're so honest with yourself that you can really meet yourself, right? But here's what the thing is. No matter how we were raised, we were in self-made prisons with walls of loneliness. And every now and then they'll post on Facebook, it says, describe addiction with one word. I always use the same word, GNAWING. It was like a little gnawing rat. I don't like those kind of creatures. I like almost all animals. I don't like rats or rabbits. They got those little pointy teeth. Don't like it. But yeah, that was definitely the feeling of addiction, of active addiction. And you can get that feeling back in recovery. I had a spiritual awakening when I was working the third stop. I'd been praying and meditating. And I was putting together a jigsaw puzzle, which is one of those things that kind of continues meditation. It allows you to use one part of your brain and frees up the spirit part. And this voice said, why would God take care of you? You're a piece of shit. And I was taken back there to the gnawing loneliness, going from bar to bar and dealer to dealer, and looking for something, seeking something that I couldn't find. Looking outside myself to fill a hole in me. And I was back there. And then the voice of recovery said, I brought you out of that. What makes you think I won't take care of you going forward? And that was my third step, spiritual awakening. It changed my life. Each spiritual awakening changes your life. I have never, since that day, doubted that God would take care of me, because I believed it. If I can go until noon today without using, that's a fucking miracle. I just celebrated 21 years clean. That's a fucking miracle. Okay, here's the opinion portion of our program. This is not an intellectual program. You will not find an external solution to a spiritual problem. You will not find an intellectual solution to a spiritual problem. As a matter of fact, I say to you, one of your biggest enemies is your thinking. Because you have a diseased machine. I always think of this when Randy and I would go to Monroe. There's some company, he could probably tell you the name, but it's something, like Acme Blank Company. And I'm like, what the hell is a blank company? He says, well, they make blanks, and then they machine them into stuff, right? So life comes at us like a blank. It goes through this sick fucker in our head and comes out to be this distorted, non-working part. So why do we say one, we, two, we, three, we? Because between all of us, we can turn out a working part. But by myself, oh, I have some dumb fucking ideas. Oh my God. I'm right back there thinking, I can buy another 8-ball. I can pay the rent this way. I never did know what that answer was, because the next day I'd go, damn, how was I going to pay the rent? Shit. I could still do that, but it's no longer about 8-balls. Usually it's about saddles or 500 bales of hay. My new addiction. I don't have a new addiction, I just have acting out on the same addiction. So back to the thinking. I love all our literature, but here's something that pisses me off. The Step Working Guide does not replace your sponsor. It is not homework. Just because you've written all the questions doesn't mean you get to go on. Because the 12th step says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Okay, that tells me, and this has been my experience, I've had a spiritual awakening for every single step I've written. You cannot put 9 women in a room and tell them to have a baby in a month. It does not work that way. You can't write a step a month and say, okay, I'm done. I'm cured. I've written all the steps. This is a lifelong process to start with. Okay? Until you've internalized these steps, and until your sponsor says you're ready to move on to a new step, you're not done. So if you think racing through the steps is doing something for you, I'll tell you what. If you're proud of how fast you're working the steps, you're missing the program, because this is a program of humility. And I see people. As a matter of fact, I just saw somebody in our area who well, they got too big for their britches. And then they relapsed. Thinking is your worst enemy. Calling your sponsor, actually, this is my thing lately. I think it's because my son's an electrical engineer and he talks to me about his work he does all the time. So I kind of see recovery now as this 5-wire connection to staying clean. And you can have any wires you can add or take away from them. These are my 5 wires, okay? It is step work, meetings, higher power, prayer and meditation, and sponsorship. Somebody, I could probably throw service in there, but the service is going to take care of itself, I think, when you get all those other things working, because you're going to be of service. You're going to reach out to a newcomer at meetings, because you are an extension of your higher power. And your higher power wants so badly to love everyone else. I talk a lot about the movie Powder. It's not a great movie, but I love the part where he says, I think he says, I don't have that bone that makes people think that they're separate from other people. And that's what freedom is. To me, it's when you lose that bone that says, oh, they think I'm better than they think they're better than me. I think I'm worse than them. You notice that's all I think, right? I did one whole fist up that the answer to every damn question was, I think they think. And this was not that long ago, like 10 years ago. I think they think. My entire life was me trying to be who I thought other people wanted to be. And I remember being a kid and saying, what do they want from me? Well, they didn't want anything. What did I want from me? I wanted them to like me. I wanted them to approve of me. I wanted them to say I was okay. And you know who finally said I was okay? Y'all did. I came to meetings and they said, you're right where you need to be. Nobody had ever told me I was right where I needed to be. You get the picture of how I was raised, right? My whole life, I never knew what I was supposed to be. I just knew I wasn't okay. And that's horrible. I know I'm not okay, but I don't know how to fix it. I get here, they're like, just don't use. Really? Work the steps. Okay. Go to meetings. I'm there. Love these people. Okay. Most of y'all. Keep coming back. The things we say to people are so important. And that's something that I realize is that it gets to sound trite to us, right? It actually talks in the basic text about our sayings, our things that we say over and over again. But the thing is, that newcomer hasn't heard it over and over again. And on that note, and I won't talk about technology, but I will say this, technology has never gone backwards. So you can complain about people having phones and meetings and shit, and you can surrender to it, you can begrudgingly accept it, or you can just go ahead and embrace it. I love to embrace reality because it increases my freedom. This, I'm going to share with you because this is probably my go-to paragraph from the basic text when I was a newcomer, and it saved me many times. You need to find your own go-to paragraph, and probably everybody in here could come up here and share their go-to paragraph, but this is mine. I don't even know what chapter it's out of, but it says, our higher power is accessible to us at all times. What? We receive guidance when we ask for knowledge of God's will for us. Every sentence in this is poetry. Gradually, as we become more God-centered than self-centered, our despair turns to hope. And one of my spiritual mentors in this program has said, a relapse is when we become more self-centered than God-centered, our hope turns to despair. Right, Patrick? Change also involves the great source of fear. The great source of fear, the unknown. Our higher power is the source of courage that we need to face this fear. Another spiritual awakening I had was at a speaker meeting, and I turned to my sponsor and I said, I just realized that attitude is the most important element in determining my joy and peace in my life. It is the thing I thought my entire life I had no control over. I just realized I have total control over. I thought I was a slave to my attitude. I think I had 12 years clean when I had that awakening, and my entire life changed when I realized I could control my attitude. Because a side effect of realizing that was realizing that it's arrogant for me to decide what's good and bad. Good days and bad days, good experiences and bad experiences. They told me when I first got here, there is no good and bad, there just is. And I had to think that, right? But some years have allowed me to internalize it. And when you take these things that we say and you get enough quiet and peace in your soul that you can internalize them, and to me that comes through meditation, getting quiet, getting some space in there, and you bring this stuff inside, it brings that freedom and that peace to you. I had a really cool, this is kind of a weird spiritual awakening, but my sponsor had told me for years, what other people think of you is none of your business. And when you grasp that concept, what you think of yourself is also none of your business. Well, Randy's father died about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And I'd gone to the visitation the night before. And the next day, and they were a very religious family, just like mine, which you may have picked up on, I'm not real good at. So the next day, we had flown down. We didn't have a car. His sister, who is batshit crazy, I hope she never hears this tape. Does she know she's batshit crazy? Okay, cool. Anyway, so she's like bustling around the house. Well, we got to be there 2 hours early. And I'm like, well, why? Because we're the family and we got to be there. And I went, I ain't going. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I ain't going. I know good and well, I know myself now. I know I'm going to get there and I'm going to be fucking miserable. So I played the tape to the end and I didn't go. And later when they came home, they're like, oh man, that was terrible. But I learned such a freedom that I'd gone to the visitation. I was there for Randy, but I didn't have to do what I didn't want to do. I know that probably sounds selfish, but life is fucking selfish. I'm the only one that gets to live this life of mine. I live my dreams. I had put, when I was up at Yankee Springs trail riding last weekend, I put living the dream. And I'm like, well, maybe not the dream, but my dream. My dream doesn't have to be your dream. But we all get to get to that dream through the same process. To me, it's those 5 connections to recovery. And I will, you know, here's what, if anybody's struggling with being a sponsor, I'm going to give you the secret, dudes. This is how easy it is, all right? They call you. You say, you going to meetings? What step you writing? When's the last time you did step work? You've been praying and meditating? You're getting the theme here, right? We're falling off. To me, that's how I came up with those 5. Because we're falling off on one of those, all of those, and you fall off on all of those long enough, and we're giving you a white key tag. Because it says in the basic text, we've never seen anyone live this program relapse. And that's what I got thinking about. What is this program? We say it's a simple program. Well, that to me, that's the 5. It's a simple program. You may not be ready for service. Service can involve expectations. You may not be ready for relationships. Oh, holy shit. You may truly not be ready for relationships. I heard Greg Pierce say at my first MRCNA, Randy and my first date was to MRCNA 1995. And I needed to hear that because he said, you'll hear people say, don't get in a relationship for a year. He says, I'm going to tell you, do a 4th and 5th step because you have no idea who you are. How can you get in a relationship with somebody when you're an imposter? You're like wearing a Halloween mask. You have no idea who you are. And here's what's hard. I'm going to talk about what's hard about recovery. For one thing, it's the vigilance, because we don't want to do shit, right? But the really difficult thing is that, okay, I saw a thing and I'm going to have this t-shirt made. It says, I went to embrace my inner child and the little bitch bit me. Right? Because we're pretty sure that buried deep inside of us is a monster. Okay? And so when people do they used to call it the 3rd step waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? But here's what the 4th and 5th step do for you. You get to see you're not a monster. Why are you afraid of that? As a matter of fact, you get to see that it isn't even what you did, it's why you did it, right? That's really what it's about. We're looking for patterns. I think, they think. That doesn't make me a horrible person. It makes me a confused person. It makes me somebody that needs to promptly admit that I'm wrong. It lets me see that I care more about what you think of me than what I think of me, and that I am a person that is not of my own invention. Narcotics Anonymous did not allow me to find myself. It allowed me to invent myself. wow, that's amazing. I get to make myself from scratch, from a sick, broken, hurting, angry. Oh, fuck, angry. I loved when I heard a speaker say, somebody came to him and say, dude, why are you so angry? He said, fuck you, who says I'm angry? I was angry. I felt like my whole childhood had been a lie. And that pissed me off. I never did anything with my life then because I was always told Jesus is coming back. Well, why bother getting a college education then? Why bother investing in myself? I know it sounds crazy, but that's how crazy it was. Okay? But since I got clean, I've gotten a Bachelor of Science in Computer Programming. I work from home. I have 3 horses. I'm an equestrian. I'm a cook. I'm a reader. I'm a recovering addict. I'm a sponsor. Holy shit. I'm Janine, and I love her. She is cool. She is fun. She is free. And she gets freer all the time with little spiritual awakenings and not giving a shit what y'all think of me. I'm gonna share with you at least one tool here that I use, and all my sponsees get this tool, and I call it surrender writing. You people have all taught me something. I gotta mention some people by name. I gotta mention Earl that was at the chair at the first meeting I went to and been clean all these years. Thank you, Earl. I gotta mention Miss Rhonda, who gave a talk, and she talked about SB 3711. That sounded like too much work to me. Shit, you got numbers and what is it, a foreign car? Numbers and letters. So she told me later what it is. I think it's surrender, blessings, step 3, step 7, it's too much work. So what I started doing was just the surrender part. So I use surrender as a verb. And something about it hauls the crazy out of me. So people kept asking me if I was nervous, and I wasn't. And then I thought maybe I should be. So I went into the marathon room to meditate, and here's paper and a pen. And I'm like, okay, thanks God, I get it. So here's how I do surrender writing. This is what I wrote. It says, surrender embarrassment that people make fun of me for swearing. I love to swear. You may have picked up on that. Surrender nervousness. Surrender excitement. Surrender fear of embarrassing myself. Surrender fear of embarrassing God. Surrender pride. Surrender arrogance. Surrender intolerance. No one else has to live up to my standards or expectations. Surrender self-consciousness. Surrender bondage. I am free. It's all I ever wanted. And you all gave it to me. And I'm so grateful I can give it back, if I give it back. My sponsees tell me that I give it back. This is a program of freedom. That's an awesome theme. I also liked Lost Dreams Awaken and New Possibilities Arise.
Yes, sir.
If nobody's told you they love you today, you might be an asshole. But I love you. The spirit in me touches the spirit in you. I may not like you, but I love you. Life is worth living. Who is an addict? I'm an addict. I don't have to be a recovering addict. I don't have to be a blessed addict. Because all that tells me you're thinking. Stop thinking. It can only be detrimental to your recovery. Just do as you're told. If you're confused, there's something called Chapter 5. What can I do? You know what it tells you? It tells you go to meetings, get a sponsor, call people. Stop thinking. Because students, actually I have a thing too when I talk to sponsees, when they say, I want, it's control. Think of a situation where you've said, I want, that you weren't trying to control some shit. I'll wait. God, grant me the serenity to embrace the things I cannot change. You really want to grow up in this program? Be grateful for the shit you don't like. Be grateful for the emotions you'd rather not have. Be grateful for the situations that are unpleasant. Be grateful for your character defects. I talk about embrace your inner asshole. Because I never got free until I embraced my inner asshole. I was raised to be perfect. Yeah, I know you do, Brian. I was raised to be perfect. And we could sit, and my mother would tell me, and she mispronounced it. She would tell me in one breath, nobody's perfect. And then she'd tell me what was wrong with me. I'm so confused. Do I get to be imperfect or not? Just stop picking on yourself, man. Imagine yourself as a scab that's trying to heal. Ooh, that sounds ugly. It's kind of fitting, though. Because we're not bad people trying to be good. We're all really good people. We're sick people trying to get healthy. I've been looking at writing about diseased motives lately. Holy shit. I remember in early recovery, there's that one Just for Today about service, and it talks about motives. I wasn't ready for that then. I can look at it now. But our motives can be pretty diseased. And I thought of it in light of who is an addict. Our whole life and thinking was centered and drugged in one form or another. So why does our whole life and thinking have to be centered in recovery in one form or another? Oh, geez. Maybe because I'm an addict. I mean, I'm going to share this, and then I don't know how long I've shared. What time is it? 12:49? All right. I started to mention that on June 29th, 1995, Randy picked me up, and we went to MRCNA in Flint, and it was MRCNA 11, one primary porpoise, and they really did have dolphins. And we established some things right off in the car that were Democrats, and there's two kinds of music that we didn't like, country and Western. So once we got the really big things out of the way, right? I won't tell him all the details, honey. But I will say this, and I've said this, and he knows he was not my kind of guy. He was not the kind of guy I was drawn to when I was using. But his love, his compassion, his tolerance, his recovery caused me to fall in love with him, literally. And we spent more time that weekend talking about relationships than the length of many of my relationships had been. We agreed that the only thing we knew how to do was have bad relationships, and we agreed that those relationships were based on sex, that trying to fill an inner hole with an outside, oh, that didn't sound right. Trying to fill an inner need with an external source. So we decided that we were going to work the principles of the steps and the traditions in our relationship. And this year, December 31st, 1996, we'll have been married for 20 years. Thank you. I dragged his ass out to the country, made him learn how to make horses move, made him step in chicken shit every day of his life. But we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We have a very honest relationship. And that's something I never had before. And I think you'll all experience that in relationships where it's like, I'll show them a little bit of me and we'll see if they stick around, you know, and I'll show them a little more and see if they stick around. And that's the cool thing about this program is that we stick around. He used to say, keep your dick in your pants, give the newcomers a chance.
Woo!
His new saying is, you can have a newcomer, but you only get one, so choose wisely. God is good. And I'm going to say this, and then I really am going to close. Don't let anybody else try to be your higher power. Because they just got opinions. And when we started dating, even though we weren't having sex, all these accountants and lawyers that come on in here, get a couple years, and want to run your life, they'll give you their opinion, but guess what? What they think of you is none of your business. It all comes down to simple principles. Anything that's going on. And Randy and I have been there for each other in recovery. Now, I'm not saying run out and grab somebody this weekend. But you know what? If you're going to run out and grab somebody this weekend and say, let's not have sex, let's just work the principles of this program in our relationship, I can't find anything wrong with that, but call your sponsor. This life is better than any life I ever dreamed of having. It's amazing. And I wish it for all of you. I love it that I see people year after year after year. And I only see them once a year and I love them. But you know what? I think of Bobby. I was expecting to see Bobby. And I said, where's Bobby? They said he died after the sponsorship retreat. And the year before, I'd gone to a workshop that he spoke, and I never heard him speak in a workshop. Embrace these sick-ass motherfuckers. They could be gone at any time. He died clean. Died in recovery. Got his Mercedes before he died. But I tell you, when I embrace every single one of you, and I spoke in Brighton not long ago, and Phil from this area went to Brighton, and he died the following Tuesday, got in a car accident. And what that tells me is when I hug you, I need to be present. I need to pull my God into me when I have my arms around you. I need to not be thinking about, oh, what am I going to have for lunch? I want to go back and read my Kindle. That's hard to be present, but you deserve it. You deserve to be present in your own body. Don't look out the windows of your house. Live in your house. Get the freedom to live in the middle of your life. It is worth it. It is not easy, but it is worth it. That's all I have. Thanks for letting me share.